So in regards to the phrase of the day, the question came up, hey, why am I writing it? Why isn't it pre-typed on a PowerPoint? The answer is lunch meeting today and yesterday, finishing up some last minute grading for another class. Um, so hang on just a second. So that's why these are not pre-typed. Every year I try to, and eventually I will get to the point of perfecting the right phrases of the day in the right lesson in the right order and get them all pre-typed up in a PowerPoint. You guys are the benefit of a long series of years, but there are occasionally one or two that I have to put together at the last minute, like this one. And so, if there are questions, Jake, you had something to offer?
Ask, if you had time, what you would put up, take a picture with this one.
It's a good question. I probably would have, I don't know. I would have either put up a photograph of someone really strange, upsetting, disturbing, okay? Or, or I would have put up an image of either a book or if I could find an image of this famous Roman playwright, excuse me, named Terence. Terence is not well known to you guys, but in his day he was very famous. He lived shortly after, well, in the period between the Second and Third Punic Wars was when he lived and wrote. And he wrote plays that were adaptations, Roman adaptations of ancient Greek comedies. And his plays are, in fact, comedies. They were a major source of inspiration for some of Shakespeare's comedies, which you guys don't get to read any of while you're at Dublin, unless you take Mr. Haller's Shakespeare in the Renaissance course, which he teaches every other year. In the English curriculum, you only get tragedies like Romeo and Juliet, or Caesar, or Lear, or Othello, or Macbeth. So, anyway, think comic, but this is not a funny comedy. You guys ever experienced comedies that have those touching moments that warm your soul? Okay. What? Happy Gilmore? Is that what you said? Okay. All right. In any case, this is a line from one of his comedies, and he says, well, Mocksmith. Good. On the first part, you're totally right. I am a human. I am a person. I am a man. Okay, I'm just going to write the translation human up here. It works very nicely. On the last part, there's some grammar and vocab that is a stretch. You guys haven't met the verb puto yet. It means think or consider. Do you guys know any derivatives of puto that have to do with thinking or considering? Yes. Compute. Right. Okay, would be a good example. What you think about someone, how you consider them, is often based on their reputation. Okay? All right. Almost. I consider nothing human. And some of you will say, Mr. Abel, human and human are two similar words, but homo and humani are different. Don't press me too much on the grammar here, but humani up there is a form of an adjective, the adjective human. Homo is the noun human. Okay. I consider nothing human foreign, or your translation was very nice, alien to me. Okay. The point of this phrase is not very comedic, actually. Well, maybe it is. Might also be tragic. Basically, what's it aiming to say? Yes. I don't know if I go so far as to say that he thinks of everyone as equal in a broad sense, equal in talent or capacity or anything like that, but maybe maybe that's headed there. Athena? Yeah, I think that's true, and I'm I'm going to look for a restatement of that. He considers nothing that's within the human race to be something he can't understand. Is good, but ooh, yeah, that there, it seems to me to be two separate thoughts. I'm gonna, whoops, put that back. um, Try to get that blinking arrow out of the way, which bugs me. Anyway, I won't get it out of the way. So he's all-knowing or omniscient or omnipotent is one idea, that he knows everything. Second idea is that what was, how did you end it? Okay, nothing is strange to him. And it's kind of that second notion that the character in Terence's play, and this isn't Terence talking about himself, it's a character in one of his plays saying, essentially, you know, I may not be Ryan or Cynthia, okay? I may not be Shadia, I'm not Joey. But if they go through some experience, okay, and it's experience that they share with me, by telling me about it, I won't consider it to be strange or bizarre or weird. Okay? In other words, what Terence's character was saying is that there are parts of humanity that we broadly speaking as a culture don't like to talk about or acknowledge. Do you guys ever read anything in your literature classes that you find on the face of it weird, disturbing, bizarre? Any, Peter, what are you suggesting? Oh, okay, what is it?
There's it's a doctor. I'm trying to remember where it takes place, but patients are coming in. And one in particular comes in. The doctor sees him, knows he's basically terminal. If there's nothing I can really do, respiratory, his lungs are essentially deteriorating. So he basically gives him this remedy that's not really going to work, but give him hope essentially.
Okay.
And then if he comes in and had to do this plant, this place, you can only eat this plant, only drink the water from this plant. And regardless, the time the doctor said to go do this, and the guy comes back, he's crazy healthy, like way better in perfect good shape. And the guy's like, "What the heck? That shouldn't have worked." So as the guy's thinking, and he's like, "Just a sec," he pulls out a gun, shoots him, and like begins to examine him.
Oh, okay. I did not see that one coming. Okay. All right. So, okay. All right. Um, ninth graders, how do you feel about Oedipus? Okay. All right. Eighth graders, how do you feel about weirdest character in your eighth grade reading? Most hard to explain, bizarre. The nurse. Okay. Okay.
Oh, the cyanide. What's the one? The landlady.
The landlady. Okay. Okay. All right. Seventh graders, who's the hardest character to wrap your head around in seventh grade? Isn't it Wang Long? Wang Long, kind of? Okay. All right. So, see, what Terence would say, and as I'm taking a really long time on this, what Terence would say is, in terms of this character, is that, you know, nobody wants to be like Oedipus or Wang Lung, or the landlady. Okay? But maybe in examining them, maybe in talking about them, you can find not necessarily a shred of good humanity in them, but you can find some human motivation in them that maybe leads you to say, oh gosh, I could see how that could happen. If you're pushed off the road by a stranger, couldn't you find yourself going about killing him? No, because you're too mild and gentle. Yeah, well, okay. So, maybe you're like me. Every once in a while you get to be hot-headed. Anyway, long and short of it, long-winded phrase of the day, homo in the nominative case. That's the point of this phrase of the day grammatically. Any questions? So that you might translate miser as, yeah, the unhappy man, the poor man, okay? The wretch. You guys don't like wretch as a word, do you? It's in Frankenstein a lot? Okay. All right. Other questions on lines 1 through 3? So many? Okay. On Decem and Anos, Decem describes Anos, and together that phrase is the direct object of agit. Mm-hmm. Yep. So Decem Anos is 10 years, and as the direct object of agit, with ago, you always have the choice of many meanings: do, drive, live, spend, discuss, plead, and so on. And you probably would choose the root meaning spend or something like that. Well, I was thinking he spent 10 years in many lands, but that's just me. Athena? Okay. So I like what you did with neck. You ripped it apart. Gosh, that sounds violent. And you translated it as and ... not, which is what you want to do here, because there's only one neck, and in that case, taking it apart. However, you're not translating invenit very literally. What does invenio, invenire, inveni, inventus mean? It means come upon, or there's a really awesome one-word translation of invenio that I encourage you to remember, which is find. Yeah. And then the question becomes whether salutem means greeting, health, safety, well-being. And I know it's frustrating when Latin words have multiple meanings, but you have to adjust to it. I would say salutem here maybe is best translated as safety. Although there are other good options possible. All right, others on 1 through 3. 4 through 7. I know there's a question about quas undis comisid, and we'll get there, but in lines 4 or 5 or 6, are there questions? Tana? Okay. Okay, so let me go ahead and ask this question. And it's a question jointly to Athena and Tiberius and to everybody and their uncle who's listening. What the heck is quas doing? Well, before it's a direct object, what is it? It's a relative pronoun. What is its antecedent? Its antecedent is ships. Okay. So something yada 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 ships. Now pause for just a second. Notice that, as you guys said, it's a direct object because it's in the accusative case, and it's the DO of comisit. Okay. I'm going to throw out you guys a quick question. Who or what is the subject of comisit? He, and who is the he? Ulysses / Odysseus. I'm going to start varying how I say his name. Ulysses, the Latin version of his name, Odysseus, the Greek version, because I am never consistent, and I learned all about him as Odysseus, as a Greek character, and so that name is hardwired into my brain. Our textbook uses Ulysses, so be patient with me if I use both names. I don't have a good answer for you. It just is. Okay. All right. So, what does comisit mean? We know that, well, we've determined that Ulysses is the subject, to use the English pronunciation. We've learned that it takes quas, referring back to the ships, as the direct object. Yes. Here, the best meaning of comito is entrust. When you entrust something to someone, or if you entrust your life savings to a bank, okay, what case is the bank or that someone going to be in? The dative, as an indirect object. So, yada 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 ships, which he entrusted to the waves. Good. All right, any other questions?
So after, so in line 5, after the calculatus part, so when you get to and, after you get to and, I got real confused.
JB, I'm confused about why you're asking me about this after I asked if there were any questions in lines 4, 5, or 6, and then moved on to line 7. It's okay. Sometimes I like to have breakfast after I have lunch. Okay? All right. So, I'm going to answer your question. You guys, as awesome and amazing Latin 2 students, have deep within you the potential to recognize a funny thing when it happens. Lots of funny things when it happens, except my jokes. You don't recognize them. Okay? All right. So, want funny? Get a mirror. Okay? All right. Sorry. All right. Very quickly, lotum is the direct object of adeunt. It's also the direct object of amaverunt. Now, I was mentioning breakfast a little while ago. I cooked breakfast, and I ate breakfast. It is very uneconomical as language in English. In English, we would be okay with saying, I cooked and ate breakfast, with breakfast as the single direct object of both verbs. And for our English-speaking minds, we can cope with that as long as the direct object comes last. However, the Romans, with their Latin-speaking minds, loved it when the direct object came first, and then the two verbs came right after that. Any other questions? Spiffy, please tuck the translation between pages 149 and 148. pass them up. I have a ton of grading to do for you guys tonight, but I love you so much that I will. And the answer is yes, I will describe the Lesson 40 test to you, just not at the present moment. Okay. We're going to do oral practice 2 now in a modified format. I want to go one step beyond or 2 steps beyond what the textbook has presented to you. If you want to use scratch paper, it's okay. This is not something you're going to hand in, so you don't need to, fetch out a spiffy new page. What I'm aiming to do is to have you guys increase your ability to recognize noun declensions, nouns by their declension, and thus be able to determine their case and number. I also want to stretch your ability to work with adjectives. You guys have already done oral practice number 1. I graded it and I returned it. Okay, so that's taken care of. When it comes to oral practice 2, we're going to do that entirely in class. And I'm going to suggest that you, and if you don't want to do this, that's fine, that you write the noun, and then you go ahead and follow the instruction. Give the case and number of salutem. And Guy, go for it. Yes. It is accusative and singular. And now I'm going to go ahead and ask the unasked question. Charles, what is the gender of salutem? And now I'm going to ask the second unasked question, which is, can you describe salutem with the word good, as in good health? Okay, Jacobe? Repeat, please. Bonum. So the instructions in no way ask you to do this, but I think it's a good idea to gain this extra opportunity to practice noun-adjective agreement, which with a third declension noun creates some interesting situations. Salutem ends in em. Bonum ends in am. They do not match. This is the big adjustment with the third declension that most people, the biggest adjustment that most people struggle with the third declension. Having a third declension noun doesn't mean that the adjective uses third declension endings. It doesn't. Okay. It, uses an ending that shows the same gender, case, and number, feminine, accusative, and singular. All right. Dukum. If Mrs. Hobbs is throwing markers at you, just duck them. Commissar. All right, let me ask you to push that one step beyond with the gender as well. Masculine. All right, I agree. Oops, that's supposed to be a semicolon, not a weird smiley face. Right. Let me spread the joy, love, and opportunities around to, well, Mr. Joey. Hi. Okay. Would you give me the adjective that means bad? Malorum. Excellent. It's worth noting, again, different ending. Um, third declension, genitive plural ending. Orum on the adjective, second declension, masculine, genitive plural ending. All right, good. Ludis. There's a fun word. Ignati. The bad news is only one of those is correct. It's the gender. Now, this is a point at which the workbook has, or not the workbook, the textbook has thrown at you something really super tricky. If you think back to when you first learned this word, ludus, ludi, masculine. You're rightly applying the masculine gender to it. However, two things to note. Number one, in origin, this noun is second declension, not third. And with the long IS, that means that ludis, as it's written, can't be genitive singular. Excellent, very good. It's an awesome adjustment so that it's dative or ablative plural. All right. I would like a new fresh volunteer or victim to describe it with the adjective meaning few. So hands go down all of a sudden and up. Yeah, Flaminate, go for it. It is paucis. Excellent. Do note that in this particular instance, the ending of the adjective and the ending of the noun are perfectly identical. That's because ludis is a second declension noun. And so the adjective which uses second declension endings has an ending that matches it perfectly. All right, super. Athena. Militibus is dative or ablative plural, and you were saying? Yep. I'm using shorter abbreviations. Augusta? Sure. Let's go ahead and be economical and use the same adjective, few. It'd be paucis. What do you mean a trick question? Okay, all right. It is a little bit of a trick question in the sense that ludis and militibus, even though they belong to different declensions, they represent the same possibilities in terms of gender, case, and number. And so when they're described by an adjective, that adjective will actually have the same ending, both when describing ludis and when describing militibus. Okay. All right. Rosa, how about legi? Legi is indeed dative, singular, and feminine. Very good. So I was going to make a bad joke about doing the hokey pokey and you put your legi in, but never mind. Angela, would you push us forward and describe this with the adjective that means, oh, let's go with good. Let's keep it simple. A little bit more loudly, please. Boni. Quite correct. Okay. This adjective continues when it's describing a feminine noun to use first declension endings. So the feminine dative singular form, boni, is exactly what we need. Okay. And a lot of you, if you were to see this in a sentence, legi, boni, together, you'd say those words can't possibly go together. But they actually do. Like Jake and Owen. Okay. They may not look good together, but oh, sorry. That's not true. Okay. Modem. Tiberi. It is, truly. And I'm going to just quickly draw attention to up here, notice the contrast with dukum, both end in um, dukum and modem. However, when you interpret them in a sentence, are very different case and number, because this is a second declension now. All right, so let's go ahead and use bad to describe this. Okay, Nick, yes? Malum, indeed. So the students criticized the bad way or method in which Mr. Hable makes jokes and tests. Ooh, we should have a test on my jokes. See if you guys can remember the punchlines. Okay. Okay. Jokem, Katharina. I'm not sure about the case. Could you restate it? Okay, good. It is accusative, singular, and masculine, indeed, as you said. And if we go ahead and describe it with the adjective, why not describe it as bad one more time? Mars, you've been awfully quiet. So the government punished the bad general, accusative, singular, masculine, dukem. Spell it for me? Exactly. All right, good. All right, Milita. Lucia, awesome. Splendid. I'm going to just go ahead and recycle some board space up here for Milita. As you said, masculine, ablative, singular. Very fine. And let's go ahead and describe it with handsome. Beautiful. If you don't like beautiful describing a male, I'm sorry. I'll start wearing a paper bag from now on. Okay. If you prefer handsome describing a male like a soldier, never mind. That was a bad joke. Okay, Jake. Mr. Pot. Spell it for me. Excellent. Pulchro. Very masculine, very ablative, very singular. Okay. Good. Questions? What's the one thing we probably didn't get enough practice with before the test tomorrow? Translation. Which is my way of saying there won't be any translation on tomorrow's little test. Okay. Don't worry, you'll get a test with translation on it. But not tomorrow. Okay, guys, girls, people, your chitter chat, restrain it for just a moment because I don't have tons of time. I want to give back that lesson 38 test that you've been waiting so impatiently for. Lesson 40 test, vocab. Don't forget the verbs. Okay, clamo, premo, and vulnero. Good, I'm glad you remember them half as well as I do. Okay. You're going to decline a standard masculine or feminine third declension noun of my choosing. I will give you the full vocab entry on that noun. It won't be one of the ones from this lesson. Okay. It might be a new third declension noun. I, for example, I'm really fond of the Latin word that means foot. Almost. Okay. Anyway. No, payday was last week. Uh, you have a multiple choice section matching a given set of nouns with the adjective form or forms that could be used to describe it. Okay. So you might think of what we just did with oral practice 2 as an example, except we didn't do it in a multiple choice format. We did a lot more other steps. So if I were to throw at you as an example, Paka. Stay with me on this one. Paka is the correct adjective form that could describe it. I'll just give you 3 answer options. It is C, because Paka is a feminine noun. Some of you recognized it as being ablative and singular, but it is also a feminine noun, so C is going to be the best option. Okay, there will be about 10 to 15 problems, more like 10 problems, multiple choice like this. Okay. All right, I'm going to stop